If you're struggling to get your head around keywords, what are they? How do I use them? How do I increase my site's ranking for them? Then this video is designed to help. In this video, we're going to go through a process that you can use to choose the best and most profitable keywords for SEO. Welcome people, my name's Tim, I'm Head Ninja at Exposure Ninja. I bring order to the chaos of digital marketing. Actually, that's not true at all. In Exposure Ninja, I bring chaos to the order, but that's another story. Keywords or search queries are basically the things that people search for. Really, really important for SEO. In fact, one of the most important elements of SEO. There's a bit of a myth going around that keywords don't really matter in 2019, 2020, 2021, whenever you see this, but I can assure you that keywords will matter forever. So let's go through a process that you can use to identify the most profitable keywords for your business so you can help your website's ranking improve for them. In this video, we're going to cover understanding your customer's buyer intent. We're going to look at your customer journey as well, and you can identify keywords at different stages of that. We're going to also take a look at how to analyze your competitors, how to use some awesome tools to find the best keywords, and also how to map your target keywords to the best pages for you. Let's go. Well, a keyword is just a search term. It's something that people search for. A keyword can be competitive, it can be uncompetitive, it can be commercial, it can be informational. We're going to look at all of these things. So a keyword can be broad. So for example, the phrase diamond rings is actually a fairly broad keyword. There's lots of possible intent behind that. That might be someone who's looking to buy a diamond ring. It might be someone who's looking for pictures of a diamond ring. It might be someone who's looking to make diamond rings and they want instructions. Right? There's loads of possible intent behind it. So that's what we call a broad keyword. Now, a more exact keyword would be something like platinum diamond engagement rings. That is someone usually, I mean, they still might be looking for a picture, but it's more precise definition of what that keyword is. Now, platinum diamond engagement rings 2 carat next day delivery UK. That is someone who's got a holiday in 2 days. They want to propose to their girlfriend. They know exactly what sort of ring she likes, and they know how much they can afford. That is a really, really qualified commercial buyer. This kind of broad and exact thing, obviously the broader the keyword, the higher the search volume, right? Hardly anybody is going to be searching for that specific term, but the people who do are likely to be very commercial buyers, so they could be quite profitable. So we'll look at how to target all of these different variations as we go on. But firstly, the question you're probably asking, keywords, really? Well, let me tell you, in 2019, keywords are as important as ever. Now, previously, in the olden days of SEO, Google was really unsophisticated and just saw keywords as basically blocks of text which needed to see exact matches for in order to rank. So if you wanted to rank for platinum diamond engagement rings 2 carat next day delivery UK, you would just use that keyword in its entirety multiple times on your page. You might even call your website platinum diamond engagement rings 2 carat next day delivery UK, and guess what? You would rank for that term very easily. Google's more sophisticated than that. Google understands more the intent behind keywords and how variants of different keywords work, and also the relationships between different keywords. But I can assure you, keywords are as important today as they always have been. Even if we take out everything, remove SEO completely from the equation, keywords are still important. If your customer searches for platinum diamond engagement rings 2 carat next day delivery UK, those are the phrases that you need to use on your website to trigger that thing in their head which says, this is what I'm here for. Let me tell you a little story. We worked with a client who sold corporate massage. So they go into people's offices and they would massage them, and that was the business. Fantastic. Great. Send them over. The trouble was that their industry term for this is on-site massage. So everyone in that space was all targeting the phrase on-site massage because that's what it is. That's technically what it is. It's a massage and it's given on-site rather than, in the massager's office, whatever. So everyone in the space targeted that term. But when we did the research, we found that customers had no idea what on-site massage was at all. It was a completely industry-specific term with no meaning to the general public. So what they'd done there is they'd made a mistake with their keywords. All of the copy on the page was all talking about on-site massage rather than corporate massage or office massage, which are things that actually mean something to people. So that just illustrates the importance of getting these keywords right. Whatever Google's doing with latent semantic intent and all these different algorithmic understandings of what keywords actually are. Just talking your customer's language is good practice with marketing. And that's really exactly what we're doing with keyword research. So keywords will always be important. So let's look at some quick keyword misconceptions. Keyword misconception number one is that you're looking for the definitive list with your keyword research. I'm going to break it to you. There is no one right answer. That's good news, it's bad news. Good news is, hey, if there's no right answer, then you can't be wrong. The bad news is you're going to be constantly iterating your keywords based on the data that you're getting back from Search Console and from your conversion tracking. So this thing that we're doing today, where we're analyzing and identifying our top performing keywords and our top target keywords, it's going to be a constantly evolving process. So when we're working on a client campaign, this is something that we'd revisit typically every 6 months to 1 year, depending on traffic volumes. The second misconception is that tools and data are your biggest assets. You'll notice in this video that we spend very little time talking about tools, and there's a very good reason for that. Tools can give us data about the specific keywords that we're looking to target, but what they don't do is provide a common sense approach to the phrases that your business should be ranking for. And actually, this common sense, your brain is the biggest asset with keyword research. So lots of what we're going to be doing is kind of brainstorming, having a look at competitors, yes, but filtering everything through common sense. If it makes sense in the tools, but it doesn't make sense in your brain, trust your brain. Your brain always wins. Misconception number 3 is that if you don't target a particular keyword, you won't rank for it. That maybe was the case in the olden days when Google looked at just that, oh, that specific block of words. Is that specific block present? If yes, great. If no, not relevant. Now Google is much more sophisticated than that. So even if you're not targeting a specific keyword, the fact that you've got content about that topic or related topics on your site doesn't mean that you won't rank for it. So don't panic. So let's look at the different types of keyword that you might be targeting in your keyword research that we're going to be doing. So we're going to have a look at broad and exact keywords. So broad are obviously the really kind of basic head terms, and exact to the very specific, much narrower focus. And then we've got this kind of spectrum between informational and commercial. So an informational keyword is something where people are doing some research, they're not really looking to buy. Commercial is something where there's a very clear purchase intent. So what I'm going to do, we're going to have a look at some different keywords and then talk about where they fit on this spectrum. So first keyword that we're going to look at, Range Rover. What do we think? Well, it's a pretty broad term and it's also pretty informational. Lots of potential intent behind that. Yes, someone might be looking to buy a Range Rover, but they're probably, if they're going to be looking to buy a Range Rover, they're probably going to be having something a bit more exact and something a bit more specific. So that is what we call a broad and informational term. Range Rover for sale, now that moves into the commercial terms, right? So that's a commercial term, but it's still fairly broad. There's nothing specific about that tells us that this is a really kind of long tail phrase. Range Rover SVR fuel consumption, right? So this person is looking for a specific model and they're looking for a characteristic of that model, right? So that's what we call an exact term. Now, is this person looking to buy? Maybe, but it's pretty unlikely based on that term. What they're probably looking for is information, right? They're just wanting a number from that, most likely. So that's an exact and informational term. Range Rover Sport Dynamic Black Tan Leather Nottingham. Well, that's a fairly exact term, and it's also fairly commercial because they've added the area there as well, which would indicate that they're in the market to buy that and they're looking for that model in that specific area. So that's an exact and commercial term. So what you can do as you're running through your keyword research today, you can have this kind of mental model in your head of, is this a broad term? Is this an exact term? And then where does it fit on the informational commercial spectrum as well? Okay, what does the keyword research process look like? Well, we got a few different stages. First up, we start with some brainstorming. This is where we get all of the possible ideas down on paper. The rule that we tend to use for this is that we'll just get as many keywords as we possibly can down, and then we can start filtering and digging through later. Once we've brainstormed, then we'll expand these with tools. So we'll look for related terms, we'll look for terms that competitors might be targeting by using tools. Once we've done that, we then start adding some numbers. So looking at how competitive they are, how much commercial intent there is behind them. And then from that allows us to then begin prioritizing them. So we've got those 4 steps. Now, just to help you out, because we're super lovely here at Exposure Ninja, we've put together a very simple spreadsheet that you can use to start doing this stuff yourself. So if you go to bit.ly keywords, Then you can have a look at this spreadsheet. So just download a copy or whatever, or copy it into your Google Drive. I don't know how these things work, but you can use this to go through the process that we're going to be looking at today. So first up, we're going to be looking at keywords and the categorization of them. So let's start with this first step in the process, brainstorming possible keywords. We're going to start in a whole bunch of different areas, but the first thing that you can do is start looking at your competitors. So you're going to go straight to Google and you're going to start typing some keywords, and you're going to be noticing what brings up the most ads. Which are the keywords that bring up the most Google ads? Because these are typically the ones that have the highest commercial intent and are likely to be the most competitive. If people are spending money to advertise for these terms, then it usually means that there is some commercial intent behind them if they're tracking conversions, so therefore they're going to be profitable to rank for. Now have a look at also, when you're running through your competitors and you're looking at that Google search page, what are the keywords that your competitors are using in their page titles? So those blue links that are showing up in search. What are the specific phrases they're using, particularly at the start of those page titles? Because that can give you a good indication that they think that keyword is going to be really important for their business. You can also have a look at what your competitors are ranking for. In a second, I'm going to show you SEMrush, and we use SEMrush a lot at Exposure Ninja to identify what keywords our competitors, or our clients' competitors more accurately, are ranking for. So what we'll do is we'll put the competitor's site into SEMrush and it'll show us all of the different keywords that competitor is ranking for. So we're looking through this list and we're taking out keywords, and then we're putting it in our spreadsheet that we're going to crunch the numbers on a bit later. Now also, I want you to think about your services and products. So what are the different names that your customers have for each of your products or services? And you can think here about the different stages in the buyer journey. So if we go back to the Range Rover example, and there's a guide that we'll put linked somewhere down below about how all this works, but you've basically got 4 stages of awareness. You've got awareness, you've got interest, you've got the decision, and then you've got action, AIDA. Now, the awareness phase is when people don't really know too much about what it is that you're selling. So in the SUV or Range Rover example, this person might be looking at best luxury SUVs, right? So they're in the awareness, they're thinking, I might want me one of those Range Rovers, but they don't really know what it's called. They might not know which one is the best one for them. So they're just kind of really top of funnel informational terms. So something like best SUVs, or something like Range Rovers when they're just kind of beginning to, yeah, that might be quite interesting. Then we have the interest stage. This is where they start to become a bit more educated and they have a bit more knowledge about what it is that you're offering. So here they might be thinking, actually, do you know what? I'm quite interested in that Range Rover SVR. That looks pretty funky. It makes a nice sound. I think I might go for one of them. So at that point, they're starting to kind of qualify themselves. They're starting to get a bit more of an understanding. Now, they're going to have different keywords for each of these different stages, aren't they? When they're in the awareness, they're going to be targeting really broad, really informational terms. As they start to move down the funnel though, those terms are going to become more exact and more commercial. So phase 3 is the desire or the decision. At that point, they're making the decision. They're saying, do you know what? Screw the environment, forget the world, global warming, let's go. I'm going to get one of them SVRs, right? So they've made a decision that they're going to purchase, or they've got the desire that they're going to purchase. The final step is action, where they decide, right, okay, here's where I'm going to buy it. This is what I'm going to do. And they actually do that thing. So when you're brainstorming and you're putting all your different keywords down, you want to think about the keywords that your audience is going to be using at different stages here. And remember, focus on what your audience is going to be saying, not what your industry or what you might describe your product or service as. And if that feels like a big step, it is a big step. There's a lot of work that goes in there. The next thing to think about is differentiators and USP. For example, a differentiator might be that you offer same-day delivery or next-day delivery or free delivery. These would all be things that people might be searching for. So platinum diamond engagement rings, next-day delivery, that might be a really good keyword for you. It's going to be easier to rank for that than platinum diamond engagement rings. Next day delivery means that there's commercial intent and it ties into a USP that you great keyword for you. So think about your differentiators and USPs and how you could add them to your keywords and put all of these in a big, bad, beautiful list. And then you can also look at what you're ranking for already. So stick your site in SEMrush. If you don't have SEMrush, then go to thankyouninjas.com and get a free trial. It's on us. What are the terms that you're ranking, like page 2 or page 3, that you could maybe push to page 1 that you think would actually be really relevant and really profitable for your business? Add them to your list as well. The next prompt for for coming up with brainstormed keywords is your customers. So are you a local business? If you're a local business, then you're going to want to include your location and nearby locations, or if you go out to people, the locations that you serve. The best exercise that you can do with keyword research is to just talk to your customers when they come in or when you're talking to them on the phone and say, what would you search for if you were looking for us? You'll get a whole bunch of really random stuff, right? And you're typically going to want to ignore the first answer and ask them, what else would you search for? What else would you search for? And get them to kind of dig through until you get to those really kind of basic, stupid Google searches that we all make. I don't know if you're like me, when sometimes you search something on Google and you're like, oh my God, I hope that no one's looking at my searches because that's just really stupid. I wanted to find the name of a song the other day, so I was like, what's the name of the song? Fat synth, da da da. I got it eventually, but that sort of useless search term, you kind of want to dig into your customers' psyches and just say, right, if you had no idea about us, what would you be searching for? And you'll get a whole bunch of really random stuff. Another good thing you can do is listen to sales recordings from inbound leads. What are the customers actually asking for? Are they asking for on-site massage, or are they saying, hey, can you come to my office and do a massage? Right? Because that's a very, very different term. So your customers will often tell you their target keywords in sales recordings. So you're going to start brainstorming and sticking all of your keywords in the bit.ly keywords spreadsheet. So step 2 is to expand your keywords with tools. Now we're going to use SEMrush because we always do here at Exposure Ninja. Absolutely love SEMrush as a tool. Fantastic company as well. So you can go to thankyoninjas.com if you want a free trial of SEMrush. Here we can see an example keyword research that we're doing for the broad term disability equipment. Now disability equipment is a fairly commercial term. It's a fairly broad term as well. And what we're doing here is, firstly, we're looking at the volume and the CPCs, but really what we want to do is find related terms to this one that we can add into our brainstorm list. So for example, down here you can see the phrase match keyword. So these are other keywords which include the phrase disability equipment. So here we can see disability equipment for the home, so we'd want to add that to our list. Second-hand disability equipment, if we offer that, then we want to add that to our list. Disabled equipment shops, right, so we'd add that to our list. So you can start to expand your list here. You also see related keywords as well. So these are other terms which are maybe similar. So disability aids. Disability aids is an alternative way of saying disability equipment. So we'd then have a whole bunch of disability aids phrases as well. So again, you'd add all of these to your brainstorm list. You can go even further. You can then have a look into all of the organic search results, and if you click on any of these URLs, it's going to show you all of the keywords that this particular website is ranking for. So your brainstorming list by now is going to be like 100 million pages long. I'm only joking. Only pick the stuff that's relevant to you. That'll keep it nice and snappy. And you can also have a look at the ads that are running too. So here we can see the different ads that people are running, and we can see some of the keywords that they're targeting or that they think are important in the ad headlines. So for example, disability equipment, we can see equipment for disabled. So there's another kind of variation keyword, equipment for disabled, disabled equipment suppliers. So these might also be keywords that you might want to add to your list. So check out SEMrush, really useful tool. Let's say that we click on the related keywords and just have a bit more of a look at that and go a bit further in depth. So here we can see a full list of all the different related keywords. Again, we're going to add them to our list, and we're also going to add in the search volumes and CPCs. That'll save us a bit of time later on. You can click the little export button in the top right hand corner to export that, so you don't have to do it all manually. Who does things manually these days, right? Who knows? Right, so we've got all of our keywords. We've brainstormed competitors. We've brainstormed different stages of the buyer process. We've brainstormed the keywords that we're already ranking for. We've brainstormed related keywords, phrase match keywords, the keywords being targeted in ads. We've got a big old list. Now it's time to crunch some numbers. So the numbers that we're specifically looking at are the keyword search volumes and the keyword CPC. Now CPC is a pay-per-click metric. It means the cost per click, so how much people are willing to spend to advertise for that particular keyword. Generally, the higher the CPC, the more profitable that keyword will be to rank, although not always the case, and I'll explain why in just a second. Now, the trap that people fall into here is when they start putting in their data, they look immediately for the keywords that have the highest search volume, because you think, well, if that keyword's got 100,000 searches a month, I could get 100,000 people on my website every month. Yes, that'd be amazing. And then they start doing the maths about what that would mean for sales. Well, the trouble is the highest volume keywords are often the broadest, so they don't have as much commercial intent. Size isn't everything, people. Often going for a very specific keyword that has clear commercial intent, even if it's lower search volume, will be more profitable for you because A, that person is more likely to be a buyer, but B, because it's going to be easier to rank for those more specific keywords. Now, the high cost per click generally means that there's commercial intent, although it can mean, if it's a very broad term, it can mean that there's just lots of dumb money piling in. So it's all about the relevance as well as the CPC. There's no definitive formula that you can use that says, yes, this is a great keyword, because like I say, you have to pass everything through the filter of your brain. Is that a sensible phrase for you to be targeting, or is it very broad? So you're going to fill in the volume and CPC channels in your keyword sheet, and you can export it all from SEMrush if you like, using that super thing. So what you can do is just download it. You can use the little export thing, and then you can just get that in a CSV, copy and paste it all into your keyword sheet, so you don't have to do it all manually. So by now you've got your keywords, you might have even categorized them, you've got your search volume, and you've got your CPC. So next we're going to look at how to prioritize them, and are they in your very top priority, your priority 10 list. Here's how we generally prioritize keywords. The most commercial and most exact keywords tend to be the keywords that you'll be targeting in the short term. So short term really depends on how much work you're putting in and how competitive your market is. But for us at Exposure Ninja, short term keywords are usually the ones that we would expect to see some ranking improvement over maybe the first 3 to 4 months. Okay, so they're going to be the most commercial and most exact. Obviously, it depends on how competitive they are as to what sort of improvement you're going to see, but that's a good kind of short-term guide. The ones that are slightly broader or slightly less commercial, maybe more informational, they will typically be your medium-term keywords. And actually, as we go from exact to broad, the competition tends to go up, which is a big kind of defining factor on how long it'll take you to improve ranking for these phrases. And then the most broad, the most informational, they are your long-term targets. So those are the ones that you're going to be targeting really over the long term. So here are some quick kind of prioritization things that you can use. So your short-term keywords are generally going to be the ones that you want to target immediately. So you're expecting to see some improvement over the next 3 to 9 months if you're not doing much work, or you're in a very competitive market. They're going to have a healthy CPC, so there's going to be some commercial intent. They might not be the highest commercial intent ones. They might take a little bit longer to rank for, but there is going to be some commercial intent there. They're going to have a lower search volume or competition level, and they're going to be super relevant. Now, your medium-term keywords are generally going to have a higher search volume. So short-term ones are going to have a lower search volume, but they're going to be easier to rank for. As you start getting into medium and long term, they're going to have a much higher search volume. Medium term phrases might have a higher cost per click, so there might be more competition for them. They may or may not be more commercial, but there's always going to be more competition for your medium term phrases, which generally means that they're going to have a higher CPC. And they might be phrases that you'll be targeting over the next 6 to 18 months. And then your long-term phrases are the most competitive ones of all. They're generally going to be the broader, shorter tail phrases. Things like Range Rover or engagement rings. These are really, really long-term keywords if you're a brand new business, or if you're you're effectively a brand new website, right? You haven't done much SEO before, then they're just going to be long-term keywords because you're not going to rank for Range Rover very quickly. And they also tend to be a lot of informational searches as well. So you can target things like knowledge-based content around those as you start building out the content on your site. Now, the CPC might be low or it might be high. Really helpful there, right? CPC might be low because they're informational research keywords, so your competitors might not be valuing these people as much as they should do. On the other hand, your CPCs might be high because if you're targeting a phrase like divorce lawyer London, for example, that's going to have a massive CPC because there are loads of divorce solicitors in London that want to target that phrase. So it's broad, it's informational and commercial, and it's very high competition, which means it therefore has a high CPC. And they're going to be the ones that you're looking for ranking improvement over the 12 months plus. Typically at Exposure Ninja, we won't necessarily be targeting long-term keywords on a day-to-day basis. We'll be targeting shorter and medium-term variants, and that will bring us an ranking improvement for the long-term phrases over time. For example, if you're targeting a term like engagement rings, what you might do is put together a knowledge base on the site, which is all about different types of engagement rings and buyer's guides and stuff like that. So you're not specifically targeting engagement engagement rings, because you might be targeting platinum engagement ring, gold engagement rings, silver engagement rings, the perfect guide to choosing an engagement ring. But you know that by doing all of that work, you're going to pick up better ranking for your broader, longer term phrases. So I hope you found this video useful. Remember, if you have any questions about the keyword research process outlined, stick them in the comments and we will reply to them. Don't forget also, if you want some help with your SEO, if you want to improve the ranking of your website, then check out the Exposure Ninja free website review. It is awesome. Go to exposureninja.com/review and you'll be able to fill in a bit of info about your business, and one of the team will prepare you a 15 to 20 minute video which shows you how to increase your website's ranking. There's no charge, no obligation. This review is killer, so I definitely recommend that you do it. Until the next video, see you soon.